God, where to start? I'm just gonna say whatever, if that's okay. Hopefully it's not too scattered. I'm sitting in an empty second floor flat, watching fireworks out the window. Someone on the grounds of the Oxford High School seems to be riding the tail end of bonfire season. Sorry I didn't get back sooner. I've been back in Oxford since before Halloween, not even sure how long. I was supposed to be packing boxes, getting stuff ready for shipping, but really I just fell into a black hole. Not waking up before 3 or 4 in the afternoon, not able to sleep until dawn, at least sometimes stuck in bed for whole days. When I do go out, it's just to Tesco or something to find out if there's any food on offer for under £1. I did finally rediscover the steam room I used to visit up at the Brooks Sports Complex on Harcourt Hill. That's been comforting since it's more or less stayed as it was in 2017. I've slid into complete isolation, unlike anything I've ever experienced before. This is not the me I recognize. At least, it's also hard for me to recognize Oxford. It's like I'm only half here, only half alive. Or like I've somehow stolen this time. I spent all of the last 2 years getting flashbacks to places I wanted to see again. People I wanted to visit, things I wanted to do. Instead of embracing all that, I've just been looking for the next safe, warm place to hide. That's a constructive lesson, actually. As much as I pine after places, travel means nothing if you're broken at the core. You can't outrun what's inside you, and you can't go anywhere if on the inside you've already lost your way. Anyhow, a few days ago, I got an audition date for the TransLink busking thing, 18 November. Haven't touched an accordion since July, so that's terrifying. They offered me the option to just use the online video I've already submitted, and I had to think really hard about it. Do I A, rush home to an audition that I'm not sure I'll nail, or B, take the risk that they'll just chuck me off the list for phoning it in? I still wanted to go back to the continent. There's people I really needed to see, at least one of whom risks being fully pissed off if I don't make it this trip. But after a lot of deliberation, I decided to go home to Vancouver. Home, if you can call it that. To me, it still kind of feels like exile. I know. Imagine how you feel. At least I was born in BC. Anyway, I fly Wednesday morning. Booking a non-refundable flight actually made things a bit better. At least this phase has an end date. I've now packed all the boxes, just need to sort things that are coming on the plane with me, which I'm trying to work up the stomach to do tonight. Sorting things has been pretty tricky since all my stuff's in Humps' office, and I can't risk being seen there anywhere near business hours. Who are you? And what are you doing here with someone else's keycard? Are phrases I want to avoid having shouted at me as I try to jump out of a ground floor window. So that's probably contributed to the messed up sleep rhythms. Trying to course correct with alcohol hasn't really worked either. Re-entry wise, I reckon the audition's a good note to start on. It scares the absolute unvarnished hell out of me. But at the same time, it could turn out to be a way of saying that I don't need any other real musician, unlike me, says my brain, to tell me that it's alright to play. Plus, I know busking is the single best thing I can do for my playing. Even when I'm playing solo, it's such a social thing, so much feedback, even in the tiniest of glances, even in the atmosphere it sets for the space. Once that's all over with, the trick is to try and somehow set up productive, therapeutic relationships. Though my body is a difficult place to inhabit, physical issues are not what prevent me from leaving the house or getting on with life. Not really. Yes, getting up, going out, eating, bathing, organizing things, taking a bus, etc., are all nightmarish, but I used to manage a lot better than I do now. I suspect that's down to something simple. As much of a struggle as the disability represents, I've always been very clever at adapting, at creating little tricks and workarounds that allow me, if not always to thrive, then at least to get on with things. Here's the trouble. I don't do any of that when I'm feeling ashamed or self-critical. While I had an academic career, I had something propping up my always near rock bottom self-esteem. The better I felt about myself, the more I would allow myself to just do what it took and not feel horrendous all the time. In practice, that meant I needed to be almost manic before I could function properly. And such emotional states were fragile and usually short-lived. But now, all I ever feel is shitty about myself, so I'm not adapting at all. It's tricky too. When I'm feeling low, it's not as if I choose to withhold self-help and support. I genuinely can't even think of things that'll help. When I'm low, I'm in a different mode of being, just trying to delete myself from the scene rather than finding ways to engage. It's a dangerous situation, and it shouldn't be allowed to continue. Basically, I figure it's no use just telling myself you don't deserve therapy, or it's too expensive, or quit your bitching, girl. Either I'm going to recover, which means getting professionals, even meds, involved, or I'm not. If I'm going to get better, the deep wounds I've sustained emotionally and my shattered self-image need to be healed, and the patterns of self-ridicule and sabotage hammered into me by macho dickbags and normcore fuckheads need to be unlearned. Much as the last thing I want is to ask for help, I'm a bigger drain on anyone that cares for me if I stay incapacitated than I would be if I just bit the bullet and tried to sort things. When I get back, I fear a hit-the-ground-running scenario. I worry about being hungry and cold and exhausted a lot in the coming months. I also know how lonely I'll be, and maybe that's what scares me the most. There's hope in the picture, too. It's just not usually so easy to focus on. Yeah, so anyway, there's your unsolicited Jackson Pollock paint slatter snapshot of my life right now. Sorry for chuntering on. How are you? If I don't see you, Godspeed in your own quest for healing on this grand old continent. Sending a big hug.